They came looking for gold, but some found a more permanent claim to the land. What if the souls of the gold rush never really left? From the phantom Tommyknockers knocking deep in the earth to the ghostly guests of a lonely hotel, these are the gold rush ghost stories that still haunt modern miners. The American West is littered with the skeletons of old ambitions. Ghost towns, abandoned mines, and weathered saloons are monuments to an era of wild hope and brutal hardship. But some say it wasn't just buildings that were left behind. They say that in the deep, dark places of the earth, and in the quiet, dusty corners of these forgotten towns, the spirits of those who lived and died for gold are still waiting. Today, we're exploring the most haunted sites of the gold rush, places where modern miners and paranormal investigators have come face to face with the ghosts that time forgot. We'll journey from the chilling depths of a Colorado mine to the tragic history of a California hotel, trying to understand why these stories stick around and what they tell us about the true cost of gold. Let's start our journey in Idaho Springs, Colorado, at the Phoenix Gold Mine. Discovered in the 1870s, this mine's history is as rich with tragedy as it is with gold. Like most mines of its time, it was an incredibly dangerous place. But the miners here faced more than just the risk of collapse or bad air. They dealt with something else, something they called Tommyknockers. The legend of the Tommyknockers came to America with Cornish miners. These were said to be small, gnome-like spirits, about 2 feet tall, with wrinkled faces and white whiskers, who lived deep within the mines and wore tiny versions of the miners' own work clothes. Their name comes from the knocking sounds they supposedly made on the mine walls. For centuries, miners have debated what those knocks meant. Some believed the Tommyknockers were helpful guardians, their knocking a warning of a cave-in that gave miners precious seconds to escape. Others saw them as mischievous pranksters who'd steal tools and food. And a few believed they were malevolent. Their knocking meant to cause collapses or lead miners to their doom. In a world of constant darkness and danger, these stories were more than just folklore. They were a way for miners to make sense of the strange creaks and groans of the earth. A sudden knocking might be a signal to get out, a life-saving hunch given a face and a name. Many miners would leave a crust of a pasty or another part of their lunch as an offering to keep the spirits happy and ensure their protection. The Phoenix Gold Mine is famous for the stories told about these spirits. For generations, miners working its veins have reported hearing unexplained knocking and the sound of pickaxes hitting rock when no one is there. Even today, the family that operates the mine for tours acknowledges its paranormal reputation, offering ghost tours for those brave enough to enter. Paranormal investigation teams, including the TV crew from Ghost Adventures, have explored its depths, capturing what they believe is evidence of strange sounds and shadowy figures. But the Tommyknockers might not be the only spirits down there. Local lore around the mine speaks of 2 individuals buried within its tunnels, with one rumored to have been a witch. Some visitors have reported a more malicious energy than the tricky Tommyknockers, a presence that feels heavy and threatening. One modern investigator described a feeling of overwhelming dread in certain chambers, and a voice in their head screaming, "Run." It's a chilling reminder that not all dangers in these old mines are physical. So, are these just the echoes of past tragedies, or are the Tommyknockers still trying to send a message? From the haunted depths of Colorado, we head west to the heart of the most famous gold rush in history, California. Here, towns sprang up overnight and vanished just as quickly, leaving a haunting legacy. One of the most famous spectral sites was the Sierra Nevada House in Coloma, a town central to the gold discovery. Before it was tragically lost to a fire in 2015, the Sierra Nevada House was known as a paranormal hotspot. Built and rebuilt over a century, the hotel seemed to collect spirits. Staff and visitors reported all kinds of ghostly encounters. One of the most frequently mentioned stories was of a little girl whose spirit was nicknamed Isabella by some. Her laughter was said to echo in empty hallways. Another legend was tied to one of the gold rush's darkest chapters, the ghosts of more than a dozen Chinese laborers, said to haunt the hotel after dying in a nearby mine collapse. When the hotel burned down for the third time in its history in 2015, some whispered it was a final, fiery release for the tormented spirits trapped within. The stories from the Sierra Nevada house are just a drop in the spectral bucket of California's gold country. Drive through the Sierra Nevada foothills today, and you'll find a landscape dotted with some of the most famous ghost towns in America, each with its own population of permanent residents. There's Bodie, a town preserved in arrested decay, where tables are still set for dinner. Once a lawless camp with a reputation for violence, it's now considered one of the most haunted places in California. Visitors report seeing the ghost of a little girl in the cemetery, said to be Evelyn Myers, who was tragically killed in an accident involving a miner's pickaxe. There's also the Bodie curse, a legend claiming anyone who takes anything from the town, even a rock, will be plagued by bad luck until the item is returned. Further south lies Cerro Gordo, a remote and notoriously violent silver mining town that once averaged a murder a week. Its current owner, Brent Underwood, who bought the entire town in 2018, has documented his own unnerving experiences while living there alone, from seeing a face in a window to hearing voices in empty buildings. The town's lore is filled with tales of violence, including one story that 30 miners were trapped and died in a mine collapse, their bodies still entombed deep underground. It's no wonder that a shadowy apparition was reportedly seen in the old hotel just hours before it, too, burned to the ground in 2015. These towns stand as open-air museums of a violent past, where the line between history and haunting is impossibly thin. A history of these places is etched into every weathered board and rusted piece of mining equipment. It's a history that is both fascinating and terrifying. If you find these forgotten stories as compelling as we do, and you want to join us on more explorations into the shadows of the past, consider subscribing to the channel. It ensures you won't miss our next investigation. So what is it about the gold rush that left such a deep spiritual scar on the landscape? The answer might be in the nature of the rush itself. It was an era defined by extreme emotions, overwhelming greed, crushing disappointment, sudden violence, and lonely deaths. These weren't quiet passings. They were lives cut short by ambition and desperation, the perfect recipe for a lingering spirit. A piece of East Coast folklore from America's very first gold rush in North Carolina illustrates this perfectly. The story of Skinflint's Mine tells of a miner named Joe McGee who was killed in a cave-in after the mine's greedy owner, known as Skinflint, refused to pay for proper safety timbers. A few nights later, McGee's ghost reportedly appeared to his friends. His spirit led them to the exact spot of the collapse so they could recover his body. But he also wanted justice. Legend says his ghost continued to haunt the mine until the owner finally paid compensation to his widow. It's said that the ghost of Joe McGee still walks the tunnels, a timeless reminder of the human cost of cutting corners. This story reveals a common theme. Gold rush ghosts often seem to have a purpose. They are warnings, like the Tommyknockers. They are cries for justice, like Joe McGee. They are eternal victims of violence, like the miners of Cerro Gordo. Their stories became a form of folklore, cautionary tales passed from one generation of miners to the next. These weren't just spooky stories told around a campfire. They were a way of coping with the immense dangers of the job. Believing in Tommyknockers, for instance, served a real psychological purpose. In the terrifying darkness of a mine, any strange noise could signal shifting rock. Attributing that sound to a supernatural guardian gave miners a sense of agency and a reason to trust their instincts. This link between folklore and survival continues today. Modern miners, especially those in historic regions, inherit this cultural legacy. The stories of the ghosts who died in the mines serve as a constant, sobering reminder of the stakes. The unease they feel in an old tunnel isn't just fear of the dark, it's the weight of the history around them. The gold rush didn't just leave behind abandoned mines. It created a landscape haunted by memory, where the past is never truly dead and buried. From the knocking spirits of the Phoenix gold mine to the tragic souls of the Sierra Nevada, the ghosts of the gold rush are more than just legends. They are the echoes of an era that shaped the American West. They are the voices of the thousands who gambled everything for a chance at fortune and often paid the ultimate price. The abandoned buildings of Bodie and Cerro Gordo are not empty. They are filled with the stories of those who lived, worked, and died there. The mines are not silent. They whisper with the warnings of Tommyknockers and the laments of miners lost to the darkness. These stories endure because they speak to a fundamental truth. The past is never truly past. It lingers in the landscape, in our culture, and for some, in the spectral figures they swear they've seen in the corner of their eye. The next time you see a picture of a ghost town, or hear the wind whistle through an abandoned mine shaft, take a moment and listen. Are these just stories carried on the wind, or are the echoes of the gold rush still calling out from the deep? Let me know what you believe in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the haunted history of the West, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more explorations into the unknown. Thanks for watching.